Hi, I'm Gary White for Central Kentucky Television. I'm here with Rick Wagner, who is the president for My Own Kentucky Home Habitat for Humanity, which is the Habitat for Humanity that covers Bardstown and Nelson County, as well as Washington County and Marion County. And actually, as we're recording this, you just recently finished building a home in Marion County this year, right? Because you
Yes.
rotate through the three counties, right?
Yes, we rotate each year, try to each year. Sometimes this schedule runs long, but we keep it on a rotational basis.
So we just finished Marion County. Next year, you're going to be building in
Washington County.
Washington County.
Exact location is to be determined. We have a couple of lots, but then we've had people in the past donate a lot for whatever reason, and we have to kind of look down the road and see how it goes.
Okay. And you are completely a volunteer board?
This is a volunteer board. We have no employees. No one gets a salary. All of us donate our time, and it could be a couple hours a month, or it could be 8, 15, 16 hours a month, depending on what the project or process is.
So tell us a little about the Habitat for Humanity in our My Own Kentucky Home branch.
Well, I'll go back to the very beginning. Habitat started around 1942 as an idea from a gentleman named Clarence Jolin down in Mississippi. He believed that people should have a natural life, should have a decent quality of housing, not necessarily all the lights, bells, and whistles, but a good, comfortable home. And he carried that forward, and with his group, he built a process down there. And then in the 60s, this actually grew into Habitat for Humanity, which then became an international organization. Our group here consists of Marion, Nelson, and Washington County as a tri-county board, and we should have about 7 to 8 members from each county, but we're on the downside right now. So I'm trying to recruit a few more members for Marion County and for Washington County.
Okay. And what does that entail to be a board member?
To be a board member, there's an application process, but before you fill that out, we'll give you a job description so you know something about what you're getting into. In my case, I kind of work with my church group, lend a hand, and I thought, I know what's going on, but filled out the application without reading the job description, and it turned out to entail quite a bit more than what I thought. But typically each month we have a meeting that lasts about an hour and a half to go over the plans, processes for the future, if we're doing a fundraiser, if there's a bill coming up, if we want to get out to the media, different things like that. So a meeting could be shorter, maybe an hour and a half at the most. When we get into the bill process now, it takes a little bit more time in that county. Typically that county's group runs the bill process, and then the other counties support wherever they can to help them out.
Okay.
And we try to recruit local contractors and volunteers from the high schools and civic and religious organizations, and we've been pretty successful with that. The communities around here have been very generous toward us, and all of the bills that I've been involved with and the ones I've read about in the past. It's really good community support.
Now, when we're talking about Habitat for Humanity, you're building a new home for an individual, but they're not just giving it to them. They actually have to qualify to support that home. Is that correct?
Yes, there's an application process that's required by Habitat International. We go through to screen the individuals to look at their family and their family situation, their current debt to income ratio, if they've had financial issues. It comes down to, can they afford the mortgage? And typically a Habitat home is a zero interest mortgage. So with a lot of donations for the materials and donations of labor, they get into a really nice home, not a great outstanding home, lights, bells, and whistles, but it's a real comfortable home for a fairly low mortgage.
And then they get to live there and stay there as long as they continue to pay that.
They take it over as their home, and we've not had to foreclose on anybody. Everybody has stayed there. Now, sometimes people have situations and you get behind a month or two, but nobody's going to beat you up, but we will talk to you about getting back on track.
Now, is it their home from that point forward?
It's their home. In the first 5 years, if they decide to sell it, then whatever equity was actually from the total value of the home comes back to us as Habitat, and they get to break even to pay off the loan. If they're there 10 years or longer, then they start building up some serious equity in it on their own, and it's typically a 20-year mortgage. So at the end of 20 years, if you went into a home that cost us $60,000 to build, you might have a home that's actually worth $85,000, and you'd be fully vested in that equity. Okay. So you can't beat a process like that.
Now, how long has the My Own Kentucky Home branch been in existence and operating?
Actually stood up about 1991, and it came about from some inquiries from the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth and from the Dominican Sisters in St. Catherine's and from Gethsemane and from a couple of local organizations looking at the housing needs within this area. And they had a couple of meetings and decided it's time to move out and do something. And in the first year, they got about 30 people on the board from different organizations. Gethsemane donated a check for $5,000 to monks to get the process started. And in the first year, in the first build, they didn't have enough money to actually build a house. So after screening several folks, they ended up adding on a major room to a ladies' home over New Hope, and that turned out quite well. And then since then, we pretty much won a year. And in 2015, actually 2014, we got lucky in that we had a couple of major donations. So in Nelson County, we were able to build 2 homes. We've never done it before, and I don't know if we'll do it again, but
Right.
it's the luck of the draw. The communities are generous, and that's what makes us go.
Fantastic. And I know some people over the years have actually donated plots of land as well, correct?
Yes, we've had several places in Nelson County donate a lot or 2. We've had 2 in Washington County that I'm aware of, and in the Marion County and Lebanon downtown, we have 3 lots right now, and I think those were all donated. It's part of the city's urban renewal. They cleaned up some of the old parts of town. We made a tax deal to buy those lots at whatever the value was. So it's been pretty good.
Now, how much approximately does it cost per home, actual monies, to build a house?
If it's a 3-bedroom home with a bath and a half and a kitchen, living room combined area, it's about 1,100 square foot. The price can be anywhere from $55,000 to $65,000, depending on the amount of donations. For one of the homes here in Barstown, one of the heating contractors donated a whole heating, cooling, air conditioning system, which saved us $8,000. But we didn't have that for the other house, so there's a difference.
Right.
Again, it gets back to who can do what, and we tin cup it, so to speak, big, and we have pretty good results.
And it is a nonprofit organization, so if someone wants to donate, it is tax deductible.
If you can remember us in your will or you want to make a donation, please get in contact with me. My name's in the phone book, and I'll get hold of the treasurer, and the treasurer will make arrangements if you want to make a donation. We're a 501(c) organization, and we have to tithe back to the national and international organization. When we build a home, period, we have a tithe that we have to give for that house, and that builds a house in Africa or India or South America or some other place.
Now, what are the fundraisers that you have throughout the time?
The fundraiser for Nelson County is the Tasting Bash that we held back in April, and Washington County is looking at doing one sometime in October, November, but theirs is going to be a little different. I think they've featured barbecue in the past, and I don't have any records of what Marion County's done, but they do have a similar Tasting Bash of some sort like that. What we do in Nelson County is we ask a number of churches and civic organizations to donate food, and we have all kinds of food from desserts and pastries and fruits to soups, and cakes, and all kinds of barbecue, and it's for $15 you can't find a better meal.
Right. Tastes good stuff.
It's good stuff all the way around.
Now, we said that today we're here because you're in need of some volunteers to get on the board.
Right, we need a couple of more members for the Washington County section of the board, because when we start the bill process, you really need about 7 people to help carry through this, because there's plans, there's permits, there's zoning, we have a lot of approvals if we have to do certain tests, so not 1 or 2 people have to carry the whole load. So we've got 4 right now, and we'd like to get at least 3 or 4 more.
And if you are interested in doing that, they have to live in Washington County, I take it, right?
Yes, that's the area we're doing this year is Washington County. Our bills are area specific. It can be anywhere in Washington County, or if we build in Nelson County again, it could be anywhere in Nelson County.
Right. And what's the phone number or contact information if they're interested in?
If you're interested in Habitat, my phone number is 502-348-2664. And you can give me a call. You may get me or you may get the answer machine, but I will get back with you within a day's time.
Okay, do you have a Facebook or a website or anything of that nature for the
No.
Habitat for Humanity?
No,
So,
like I said, we're a small
right,
organization.
Small organizations. That's something that they're working for maybe in the future. But again, that phone number one more time.
502-348-2664. That's my home phone number.
And if you're interested in Habitat for Humanity and either making a donation, being on the board, or even volunteering, because it's not just board members who actually go out and build the house. They
Right.
need people. You need people to do that.
We solicit church organizations, civic organizations, and in some cases the contractor will come over and donate 1 or 2 of his people for a day or 2 while we start the build. And we don't stick build like you see most homes build. We have a group in Lexington called Crossroads. When we give them the layout for the house, they'll come back and build panels, and we put the panels up where it's pretty much already pre-built, so in a day's time we can have it under roof.
Oh, great.
It takes a while longer to finish it, but you can get it up and out of the weather so the interior contractors can do their job.
Great. And that's the My Old Kentucky Home Habitat for Humanity. It's for Marion County, Washington County, and Nelson counties. And you can contact Rick Wagner, and he can get you some more information on that and how you could possibly help get some money in a new home.
Correct, and if you're interested in joining, I'll send you a job description, and if you think that's okay, then I'll send you the application form. And then when we build in the counties, typically we do an announcement in the newspapers or churches or the civic areas that we're going to hold a meeting in the library or a church building to have an information meeting, and then we go from there as far as starting the application process.
And again, if you're in Washington County, because that's where you're going to be building this year, there will be a process for applying to possibly be the one who gets that house this year, right?
That's correct. There typically we'll get about 8 to 12 applications and screen those down to 4 or 5 that meet the requirements that Habitat International sets. They're not our requirements. We have to go by the rules. And then we'll work with those in the application form and do the background checks and the investigation and determine the need. This is what we're all about, is building affordable housing, taking care of your neighbor. And it's got to be also part of need, not just capability as far as your finances.
Right. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, this has been Gary White here with Rick Wagner talking about My Old Kentucky Home, Habitat for Humanity.